What's up, everyone? Matt here with Down Once More, and I'm recording this on St. Patrick's Day, so I have my green beer in hand. It is not my first green beer of the night as I am recording this. I got my green shirt on, and we're going to get into it. I've got something that I think is going to be fun for this week's episode. To be completely honest and transparent, I have been in just kind of a creative drought, whatever, just a dry spell lately, coming up with ideas week after week to keep the podcast fresh, original, keep you all engaged, have something that you want to come back and listen to. Has seemed like a lot, and producing this has been something I know that I have not been bringing my A game, and I apologize, but I appreciate all of you that keep coming back week after week. Subscribe, like, comment, share, all that fun stuff. Take that as your plug to do those things if you haven't already. But I was really struggling what to talk about this week. I've been doing a rewatch of the Daredevil series. I just finished season 1. I'm like, maybe I talk about that. But I'm like, I'm already doing kind of niche things with The Last of Us reviews that not everyone wants in this original musical podcast. Yellow Jacket season 3 is halfway. Kind of the same thing. I am enjoying the season so far. It's picked up a little bit. The ending of episode 6 has piqued my interest the most of the season so far, so we'll see what happens next week. The new original rock opera movie starring Sadie Sink, Odessa, comes out on Thursday, the day after this podcast drops, so I can't talk about it this week, but I have a feeling we'll be talking about that in April or May. So that's coming to Hulu. So stay tuned for that eventually. Not all April streaming stuff has been released. So I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. But then my theater, where I go to see all the national tours on Broadway, they had an event tonight on St. Patrick's Day, announcing their 25-26 Broadway Glenn Korff Broadway Series. So, a little backstory. What we're going to do for this week's episode is I'm going to reveal what will be coming up in the 25-26 Broadway series, because those are then shows that I will be reviewing on here. Those have been some of our most popular episodes, so thank you to everyone who watches those. I will also be kind of giving my recap review of this past season, the 24-25 season, and my thoughts on that. I still have one more add-on show left this coming up Friday in Annie, which is a musical I know nothing about. Well, I know a little bit about it. Nothing is a little bit dramatic, but I have not seen Annie. I know It's a Hard Knock Life and The Sun Will Come Out. I know those songs, but I've never watched any of the movies. I think there's like 3 different versions of the movies. I've never watched the Pro Shot stage musical version. And so I might watch none of those going into the performance, and then I'll talk about that on here. But let's get into my recap of the 24-25 Broadway series at the Lead Center. That's where I go to my shows. So if you're a stalker and want to come meet me, head out there, Lead Center. Lincoln, Nebraska. That's where I'm at. How this typically goes are the shows that are in the other biggest city in Nebraska, Omaha. What's at their Orpheum Broadway season 1 year is typically in Lincoln the following year. Now, that doesn't always play out 100%. Like Back to the Future, the musical, had its Nebraska debut in Lincoln at the Lead Center this year. And there's some shows that were at the Orpheum last year that are not in the Lead Center this year. So we're going to get into it. First, my thoughts on the 24-25 season. So I'm just going to start at the beginning. This past Broadway season started out with Dear Evan Hansen for me. Dear Evan Hansen is a musical that has been near and dear to me for quite a long time. I have You Will Be Found, one of the lyrics from it, on the necklace that I wear. It has a powerful message. Is it a perfect message? No, but there's some of the songs that just speak to me and pull on the heartstrings, and there's something about the musical I really enjoy. While I love Ben Platt's voice, the Dear Evan Hansen movie was distracting to me. His kind of look was just off enough that was distracting. Caitlin Dever did a fantastic job in it. They cut so many songs that I really enjoyed and I felt contributed a lot to that musical and that story. Like Good For You was a big one that was missing for me. And so I was disappointed with the movie version. And I've been attempting to see this musical for a long time. I had tickets to see it 2 days after COVID, and so those got canceled when COVID shut everything down. So I've been wanting to see this musical for over 4 years when I saw it. And I finally got the opportunity to, and it was so powerful on stage. And I titled the episode Michael Fabish. Wow. Because Michael Fabish did an absolutely fantastic job as Evan Hansen in this past national tour. Like, I was worried just with how incredible of a voice Ben Platt has and how he kind of embodied that character and originated on Broadway, and me being so familiar with that Broadway cast album. I was worried that someone on the tour, how they'd be able to stack up to it. And Michael Fabish did just an amazing job. One of the better performances I've seen. He embodied that character so well and was so fantastic. So it was a great kickoff to the Broadway series and started on a high note. You got a Tony winning Best Musical on there with Pasek and Paul, which there will be a Pasek and Paul musical on the 25-26 Broadway package that we'll be seeing. So stay tuned for another Pasek and Paul musical. Next up was Back to the Future, the musical. And this is one that I had to shout out in my review a couple things. The technological aspects of this were so impressive, and I really appreciated what they did to bring in just kind of crazy visuals and adapt this non-musical movie into a musical. Lucas Hallauer's performance as Marty, he was the understudy, but he came on and he did a bang-up job that I would have thought he was the main lead cast member there. He was so fantastic in this production. I really enjoyed it. But that being said, none of the songs from this musical really jumped out to me or stuck with me. Like, I cannot name you a single song from that musical that weren't like Power of Love from the original movie, right? It was fine. Like I said, it was a visual treat and all the performers were great, but it's not one that the soundtrack really stands out to me. And like, I have not added a single song from this musical to any of my playlists. And that's very telling for me because I listen to almost exclusively musical theater albums. So after that was The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid, based on the famous and beloved Disney movie, recently received a live action Disney movie adaptation that had mixed reactions. It's been a Broadway musical for a while. I have to say, I don't necessarily love this musical adaptation. It doesn't do anything for me that the movie didn't. The additions weren't anything like show-stopping. None of the new songs really grabbed me. The big thing from that for me was Dana Orange's performance as Sebastian was fantastic. He brought a lot of energy to the role and it was a lot of fun. But overall, I'm going to be honest, this, while still a good time and some very great performances, also a standout that I thought was fantastic was Leanna Weaver as Ariel. She did a really good job in that role. But the Disney ones and the kid ones on stage don't really do it for me as much. I'm not the main target audience. And this was different for me than other kids movie musicals that we've seen, like Shrek the musical. That one had a number that just stood out to me and just kind of took my breath away into who I'd be. This doesn't really have anything from it that did that to me, besides the ones that you're familiar with from the show, from the movie. And I felt like on the stage, you would think that maybe you'd have a new level of energy, and it just didn't for me, especially like Under the Sea and Kiss the Girl. Like, Under the Sea especially is just this big, gigantic number in the movie. And I would have thought that would just be huge on stage and just have so much energy. And it just felt kind of lacking. And that's saying something with how great Dana Orange was as Sebastian, that it just still felt like it was missing something for me. And I was a little bummed by that. But overall, it was still a good show. It was just lower on my list. A Disney one that I did think excelled was Aladdin the musical that I saw in the first Broadway series that I reviewed on here. That one had a whole nother energy and level with it that did so much more that I really enjoyed. And it had some songs that I felt like made it stand out and stand on its own. That The Little Mermaid, it has some additions, but nothing really stuck with me. And then next up, just fairly recently, was Moulin Rouge, the musical. I saw this twice. It was that good. The big standouts for me on this were, besides just the fantastic like orchestrations and arrangements and the music and how it's woven into the story, just a fantastic jukebox musical and music that I've loved and grown up with and was familiar with. But specifically, I have to call out Robert Petkoff as Harold Zidler, was fantastic, and A.K. Nader as Nini in it. Just Robert Petkoff just had so much energy and was so fun as Zidler in this play. And then A.K. Nader just had this energy, and her abilities to dance and just bring this raw emotion to this role were fantastic. Now, Christian Douglas, fantastic as Christian. And then Satine, I saw both Ariana Rosario and Jeria Exum in it, and both of them were fantastic in the roles. Like, it's just a fantastic cast all around, but this musical was just had so much spectacle to it that was one of, I don't know, it took my enough where I saw this 2 times in 3 days, 5 days. I would go see it again tomorrow. It was so good. Highly recommend you see it. It's at the top of my list. I think it's number 1 for me on this Broadway season. And then finally, just last week's episode, Beetlejuice the musical. This one I would have seen multiple times because Justin Collette and Madison Mosley gave 2 of the best onstage performances that I have ever seen. Especially Justin Collette as Beetlejuice just brings a whole, I can't describe it. You have to see it. If you have the opportunity, go see this cast, go see this tour of Beetlejuice. This musical is so much fun. Even if you've listened to the cast recording and you think you know this musical, you don't. The book is fantastic. The dialogue is just so entertaining. You'll be laughing. You'll be crying. Probably not crying. Although there's a couple of songs, a couple ballads that might bring a tear to your eye depending on who you are. But Beetlejuice was neck and neck with Moulin Rouge for me, which is saying something. And as far as like laughter and hilarity goes on the musical scale, this was probably just second to Book of Mormon for me. Book of Mormon was the most I've ever laughed at a musical on this tour. Beetlejuice, close second. And maybe it was my mood. Maybe it's not for everyone. But I think my final ranking of this season shows go Moulin Rouge and Beetlejuice neck and neck for 1. Dear Evan Hansen very close behind. And then Back to the Future, for me, there's a significant drop off between those. And again, it has nothing to do with the talent. It just didn't connect with me as much. And then Little Mermaid is another decent drop off after Back to the Future for me. So that was the 24-25 season. Add-ons I went to see Rent, the concert, which had a full symphonic orchestra playing and the music of Rent, and it was beautiful, and I really enjoyed. I've got Annie coming up this Friday. I also then have a show, The Barricade Boys, which is people who have played in Les Mis on the West End that are doing like a traveling tour, singing musical songs, telling stories. I'm really excited for that. I have that at the end of this month, so I'll probably talk about that on here as well. But that wraps it up. It was a pretty solid season. I have been pretty impressed with both of the Broadway season passes that I've gotten. The year before, we'll see if I can remember everything. There was Shrek the Musical, Mean Girls, Jesus Christ Superstar, Les Mis, and whatever the other one is that I cannot remember right now. You'd think it would be memorable, but it's gone. But both of these, the last two seasons have been ones where I've been excited to see pretty much every show. They've been ones I've been familiar with. This is the first time I've gone to their kind of reveal event, revealing the next Broadway season. And you have a chance to re-up your subscription early. You get to see it before everyone else. It's interesting. So I wasn't quite sure what to expect. And this is a quick peek. If you're watching on YouTube, you see what it is. But now I'm going to go through them. First up, this Broadway season in August is Frozen, the Broadway musical. Now, Frozen, great Disney movie, has a lot of bangers, if you will. Idina Menzel and Kristen Bell are fantastic in the movie. Just powerful voices, a lot of fun. It was turned into a Broadway musical because, of course, why not? And they are doing a filmed pro shot version of it with Samantha Bark, so you may be familiar with as Eponine in the Les Mis movie, but she played Elsa on Broadway, and they did a pro shot of that, which comes out sometime this year, if I'm not mistaken. So I am indifferent on this musical. I like the music of Frozen. I get there's more original songs for it. As far as Disney adaptations go, it's probably one of the better Broadway Disney adaptations I can look forward to looking to. They had someone performing a few songs from it at the announcement, and performed one of the original songs from the musical, which was called Monster, that's sung by Elsa. And I really enjoyed that song. So I have hopes for this one. I would say my excitement level is probably a 3 out of 5. Not super thrilled, not super pumped for it. That's coming in August. Next up is Tina, the Tina Turner musical. This is a musical I haven't followed very much. I'm not very familiar with it. I am familiar with Tina Turner's music, and I enjoy it. It's not like a regular listen for me, but she was a fantastic woman, put out some fantastic music. I love What's Love Got to Do with It. I love Proud Mary, and I love Hero. I really enjoy Tina Turner's music. I just don't actively seek it out. This one, I would say my excitement level is probably a 4 out of 5. I am not familiar with it, but I think this has potential to be one of my favorite shows of the season. I think it will have a lot of energy. It will have a lot of fun. And this is actually, the performance is here. So I go on Thursday nights, and I will be seeing the very first, they're kicking off a brand new national tour in Lincoln for this. And Thursday night is their first performance. So I will be seeing the very first performance of the national tour of this production. So I'm excited to have that opportunity to review it. But we'll see. It's one I don't know much about, but I think this is the one that has the most potential to kind of blow me away and take one of the top picks for me this season. Next up is A Christmas Story, the musical. I don't have the nostalgia for A Christmas Story that a lot of people do. I did not grow up on this movie. I think it's fine. I don't think it's anything special, but it has music by Pasek and Paul of The Greatest Showman and Dear Evan Hansen fame, and some songs from season 2 of Smash, which I really enjoy. So I have confidence that they will have put together a fantastic soundtrack, a fantastic, not book. I can't think. It's late and green beers. But I have faith that they have some fantastic songs in this musical. So I'm looking forward to that. We've talked about it on the podcast, I'm not a big Christmas guy in general. I'm a little bit of a Scrooge / Grinch, a Scrinch, if you will. So I'm not super pumped for this. And the showings it's December 16th through 21st. So you got like the week right before Christmas. It's that time of the year. I don't know. we'll see what happens. The next one in the season pass is The Music Man. A common thread this year on this Broadway season is that they're a little bit more retro musicals, if you will, not necessarily from when they came out. Music Man, yes, Music Man is an older musical, but where the setting where they're set, most of these are kind of like period pieces or a little bit retro pieces of when they take place. So Meredith Willson's The Music Man. Hugh Jackman played The Music Man on Broadway recently, but I am not familiar with this one very much. I've never watched The Music Man in my life. Like, this Broadway season is going to be an educating one for me because none of these are shows that I am very familiar with besides Frozen. So I'm excited to see and experience The Music Man. It is a very beloved musical, so we'll see. But my excitement level on this, not crazy high. Probably 2 or 3 out of 5. Next up in May is Suffs. So this is the Tony Award winner for Best Book of a Musical, Best Original Score, about the suffragettes, the women who are fighting for women's equality and women's rights. This one is a musical I'm not very familiar with, just full transparency right now. I am excited about this one. This one is probably the one in this season, kind of neck and neck with Tina, the Tina Turner musical, that I think I'm most excited for. They showed a little preview for it, and the music seemed catchy, entertaining. It seemed like the lyrics were both powerful and clever and well written. So I'm excited about this one and to broaden my horizons and see it. And I think it'll be a really exciting musical opportunity to see. I'm pretty sure they said this is the Nebraska debut of this one as well. So we'll be getting that here. And then that's it. That's the 5 shows on the Broadway season. Frozen, Frozen, Tina, the Tina Turner musical, A Christmas Story, The Music Man, and Suffs. That's it. My overall level of excitement for this Broadway season is probably a 3 out of 5. My excitement comes in where I'm excited to kind of broaden my horizons and not just see what are ones I usually would see. The only ones from here on this season that I would actively, if I was not a season subscriber and doing that I would probably go out and get tickets to would be Suffs and Tina, the Tina Turner musical. I'm not gonna lie, those are the only ones I would actively go out and buy on my own if they weren't part of the season pass, and I wasn't doing that because I really do like to get out and I just love musicals and like to experience more, even if they're not necessarily ones that I would gravitate towards. Now, the musical that I'm most excited about is actually an add-on this season, and that's Hadestown. Wait For Me is a fantastic song and has been on my radar for a long time, just like it has been everyone else's, because it is beautiful, it is haunting, it is such a fantastic song. Hadestown won multiple Tonys. It just had its run in, I think it's going on right now actually, in Omaha at the Orpheum. So I figured it would be coming this next season to Lincoln. I am just kind of bummed that it is an add-on and it's not part of the actual Broadway season package. This was the one, this is the biggest one of the group by far, with Suffs close behind it with kind of fame and just its newness. But I was bummed this is an add-on, but it's the one I'm most excited for. It's coming in January, so we'll see. I'll be doing reviews of these just like I did this last season and a little bit the season before. After I see the shows, I'll be doing reviews on here. I'll be giving my honest thoughts on the national tour. I say I give my honest thoughts. I am not very critical of the performers because there have been enough times where I've had performers comment on the videos or reach out. So, I'll tell you my respectful, honest thoughts. I don't like just bashing people in general because getting up on a stage and doing something is hard. Getting behind it's easy, but it's also hard to like get behind a mic and do podcast stuff. Like I get way more invested in this stuff than I should and care far more about what people think, comment if people are unsubscribing in YouTube, things like that. I care too much about that, so this is not really a mentally healthy hobby for me to do, but I do still enjoy it, so I am going to keep it up. But that's an overview. That's what you have to look forward to starting August 2025 through May 2026, musicals I will be reviewing. Usually they announce some other kind of concerts or things like that later on that'll get as add-ons, but that's the gist of it. That's what we're talking about this week's episode. Well, that's what we did talk about. I'm not going to talk further about these. I thought this Broadway season, this 24-25 season that just ended, I think may have edged out last year's for me because just how much I fell in love with Moulin Rouge and Beetlejuice the musical on it, and finally getting to see Dear Evan Hansen. That was something that was very important to me. Although getting to see Mean Girls the musical was also very special to me, and I really enjoyed the previous year. But, Aladdin was the other one that year. I was blanking on it. It was Aladdin, Shrek, Jesus Christ Superstar, Mean Girls, and Les Mis. Boom. Nailed it. Those were the 5 from the previous season. But thank you all. Hope you all had a fun and safe St. Patrick's Day weekend. Hope you enjoyed the episode. There's a few wrinkles, but the plan is still tentatively for Brad and I to review La La Land on next week's episode. If something falls through on that, I will review Odessa on next week's episode. And then April, we've got a few things planned. We got Jesus Christ Superstar review coming out. We'll probably do the original movie and touch base on the other versions of it a little bit. And then this will be coming up on the streaming preview for April. But a new Star Kid musical, Cinderella's Castle, comes out on YouTube on April 4th. I love Star Kid, Twisted, one of my favorite musicals, just like in general, really. It's just so much fun and so well done. But they have a new musical coming out to YouTube, so we'll probably talk about that at some point. But thank you all watching, listening, however you consume the podcast. Thank you all. It does mean a lot. I appreciate your support. Kind words, those who message, comment. Appreciate you all for checking in regularly. So like, follow, share, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. Have a fantastic rest of March. Tell me what show you're most excited for me to review on here. I want to hear that. So what show of the next Broadway season are you most excited for me to review? Which review did you most enjoy from the 24-25 season? So comment those below, and then have a fantastic rest of your day, evening, whenever you listen, and don't forget to go down once more. Later.